Hi everyone, this is our band Microsoft podcast around Microsoft security products. Welcome to the first timers and welcome back for those who tuned in last fortnight for our episode 0. My name's Andrew O'Young. I'm a modern work and security pre-sales specialist at Dicker Data, also an MVP.
Hi all, I'm Shehan. I'm a Microsoft MVP in security and identity and access management. I'm working as an architect in identity and endpoints at Bastion Technology Services. Welcome.
And I'm Anthony Porter, a cloud security architect at Canon Business Services. Uh, I'm specializing in the Intune and Defender area. So thank you all for coming. Episode 1, I believe we've called it Boots on Ground, is our very poor attempt at the probably more or less the recap on what has occurred within the last fortnight, which more notably for us Aussies is the summer Bootcamp event. Which for those who aren't aware, is essentially an Australia time zone based set of sessions focusing on what was predominantly and thankfully a lot of security and AI. It was a 3-day event. It was about 6 hours of sessions each day. And a lot of those sessions were curated for everything that we needed to, I guess, be advised on of what's been announced, what's upcoming, and a bit of an insight into some of the bits and pieces which are happening, which have been really nice to kind of get an overview. Some of it even gave us an insight as to what's happening with Microsoft. So, which did you guys see any of the sessions?
Yeah, I tried to
And
tune into majority of them.
yeah,
Whoops.
and I missed out of the sessions this time. Yeah.
Nah. Look, I took a fair few notes on some of them, and I guess as a recap, I've highlighted 3 sessions which I personally thought was fairly beneficial, at least to what we are, I guess, looking forward to within 2025, as well as a bit of a, I guess, an insight as to what's upcoming and what should people be aware of. But yeah, well, I mean, without humming and hawing, I guess the first session I wanted to highlight was probably once again just another one of those Ignite 2024 recaps, but this was from the perspective of a Microsoft employee, who was Aaron Powell. Absolutely an amazing session. Obviously, I've seen Ignite and I got to watch a lot of session recaps. But what I was able to essentially, that session itself was a real like cut through the fat. It was exactly what you wanted to know. No meat, like all meat, nothing extra unnecessary. Some of the bits and pieces, once again, it was literally his summary of it was Ignite was security and AI, and obviously that kind of resonates with myself. But just, I guess, highlighting some of the bits and pieces, which were mentioned were mainly uh, around the Windows security enhancements. So, do you guys know what some of those enhancements look like?
I believe one of the things were the administrator access that's coming up with Intune. So have you done any research on that? I haven't personally done anything, but I know that's like it's like Labs, but a different flavor.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
absolutely right. And conveniently enough, that was my first dot point. So well done. Yeah, administrative protection. So
exactly.
that
Yeah,
in itself, and I've captioned it as standard user by day, elevated user, Windows Hello for Business by night. So the idea behind it was, oh yeah, I'm trying to be witty. I don't know. It allows you to essentially elevate your domain administrative privileges in like a just-in-time least privilege for the certain operation that you're trying to do. So I guess if you think about, the elevated privileges within, Intune side of things, this is essentially locking down that on-premises access, because I think there was an identification that domain users, there was a lot more domain admins than there probably should be, but it was because there wasn't a lot of spread of
yeah,
protection roles associated. So that in itself by far was probably one of the bits and pieces I went, oh, that's brilliant. Microsoft is still looking towards that on-premises security while still focusing heavily on that cloud-based
yeah,
security. So
yeah. I think introducing or moving labs from the standard GPO managed from there to Intune is one of the good things as well. So Windows labs, and you still can set up your labs information in conjunction with your local AD as well. But I think it's a next step in that whole on-premises privilege management thing, and bringing in protective this new admin feature into the Windows 24 H2. Yeah.
Absolutely. I guess for those who don't know what LAPS is, that's Local Administrator Password Solution. That's your ability to essentially identify like let's say your standard administrator account, which is across your entire SOE operating environment, and then the ability to manage that within a cloud-based platform. So that allows you to randomize passwords, have audit trails against the retrieval of that passwords, have a rotation of passwords. Essentially, if you're Australian and you're associated to the whole Essential 8 framework, which is the ASC/SC focus, that is essentially ticking a lot of the boxes to ensure that you are using unique randomized passwords to assess security measures. So
yeah, and also connected to that, you can still use your generic username administrator, or if you use your Intune configuration policy with the settings catalog, you can create your own username. So that will be your administrator account, because administrator itself is not secure because anyone can guess. So you can put or create a different account for that first, and then let labs manage the password for that.
absolutely, I think that just that profile or that setting itself just identifies and if I'm not mistaken, the dash 500 of the SID of the account, which is your built-in account. So if you've got I guess a not so structured SOE, you've got a bit of legacy devices here and there, that brings a bit more uniformity into what accounts should be considered your local administrator account for all of those devices. Once again, bringing security back old, and then being able to manage it, and I guess hitting the ground running with a lot more security control within the cloud. One of the other things that I think was quite, I guess, topical was regarding the Windows resiliency security platform, or at least the space. Did you guys hear anything about that?
Not me personally, but yeah, more than happy to hear what you have got on that side.
That one in itself was essentially, there was an event mid 2024, right? Sure, some of you have heard about it, and if you haven't, done. I think the idea behind it was that Windows itself was identified to be a potentially flawed product, where Microsoft themselves have identified that there are some that they can take in that space to potentially improve security, but also improve recovery, and also identified that the AV solutions associated can be improved. So one of those things that they made mention was the ability to, in future, run security solutions in as an app in a user mode. So that would be built outside of the kernel. So I guess to summarize it is that outcome of a lot of machines having a bad day was purely because it was at a kernel level. I think the idea is moving forward, they want to try and explore what that looks like to run these solutions as an application outside of kernel.
So is that something related to the EPM in Intune, for an example? Again, coming back to the whole privilege management thing. With the EPM, with the enterprise privilege management, so you can give the user to run that application rather than just administrator coming in and do the stuff. So it's kind of like in a secure way. So it's privilege management just in time as well. I don't know. Maybe it can be a part of that one as well. I'm just guessing.
So I think given that we didn't really get a lot of a deep dive into it, it's still something that's kind of being brushed upon. I think
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. I think it also aligns with that administrative protection component where it's that just in time least privilege on specific operation. So I
Yeah.
think just if you think about AV scanning and its ability to scan everything, I think it's the identification that you would be able to run AV as per normal and only elevate to those required when it's required, and not give the blanket solution that kernel. So once again, I think it's identifying and aligning to that least privilege just in time methodology, at least just within the Windows product itself.
Yeah.
And I think you were kind of alluding to a third-party endpoint detection response product that may have led to this, this change of their architecture. And and I guess at the same time, when they announced the whole, we've got these new Copilot Plus PCs, and there's a new feature called Recall that's coming, and a lot of the general public, started panicking because yes, the announcements were kind of a little rushed for Microsoft Build last year, and we didn't get the full details at the time. But Microsoft have come out and done a whole lot of work around securing the Windows operating system with something called virtualization-based security as well. So again, we're dancing around that kernel level, outside of it, the user level, the device level, where certain services or commands run at, in those discrete spaces so that they're not crossing over. Nobody's getting too much access, and it's kind of secure by design. So there's probably we'll see more of that soon enough, I reckon.
Absolutely. I think Microsoft have easily put their hand up and identified that there are improvements made. One of the later sessions, which I'll talk about, definitely goes into that into a bit more detail. And once again, I think it's a good idea that, if even some of the, and I'll call it some of the best companies in the world can still look internally and see improvements.
Yeah. And also, not to mention, they are keep on adding the new features and introducing new, basically settings into Defender to Purview. So it's high time complementing operating systems being introduced as well. Operating systems, updates to the operating systems, or maybe new operating systems that basically 100% comply with those settings. So right. So rather than going into the registry and do something, so then it will be complied. No, coming from this, creating them from the scratch, adding them into the inbuilt, so then they will be complied more with the new features that they're bringing in as well. So I think that more like a win-win situation.
Absolutely. And I think one of the other, Windows resiliency security platform initiatives, which it's probably one that we all saw coming, but it's also one that I think is still very necessary, is the mention for smart app control for business. So that is essentially, if you've never done WDAC or any sort of app control before, good work, because obviously not the easiest thing in the world. Lots of things break. There's a lot of pilot testing that required. But I think the idea is that they've already announced that they're bringing in what is almost going to be an I wouldn't necessarily call it AI, but a decision-based app control for business, where it will verify good apps rather than just kind of requiring upon your configuration. So I do know that in Intune there is capabilities within the space that are currently in preview. I think the idea is that it's to be a bit more granular, also in configuration, but also just allow you to have that WDAC level in security out all the headaches that normally associate the role.
And maybe it may be a part of the whole Windows Defender cloud apps and app catalog. So it has already got a reputation for the apps as well, and also the apps discovery within your organization. So everything will, I believe, come into the play with that new thing.
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. I think if you haven't used the inbuilt apps for business or app control for business within Intune at the moment, I think the idea is that you can identify, yes, your SOE based apps and consider them by blanket all good to run in your environment. That in itself has already been a feature. There's also I believe it's a checkbox which gives you the ability to, I guess, scan a bunch of trusted resources to ensure that what you are running, the version of the application you're running, is safe. That's already in place, but once again, I think this is an initiative to keep pushing that through so that it's not just an Intune capability and across the board your Windows.
Yeah, lots of interesting stuff coming to the scene. So waiting games.
And then I think one, whilst we're on the topic of Windows, would have to be the Windows 365 link.
Yes.
I guess as a blanket, it's a thin client for accessing Windows, which essentially has nothing running locally on it. It purely runs all operations within the cloud. That in itself, I've worked in some companies that have heavily utilized hot desking.
Exactly.
And once again, I think this is almost that steady state, if we still use steady state these days, but steady state of like, as soon as you log out, there's no persistent data that remains in the environment or on that device itself. And everything resides in the cloud. So you've all got that security, your your identity-based security, as well as security kind of embedded in the hardware that you're.
Yeah, I think mainly call center type scenarios that would be really good rather than I've been in situations where like long time ago, I would say a lifetime ago, where because of the agents jumping into the machines every day, we have to, as a help desk engineer, had to clear out the profiles. Yes, they are all roaming profiles back in the day, but still they are getting created on the device. So I think those problems will go away definitely. I think they're not there anymore, but it will be more enhanced rather than users jumping into a local machine. These W365 link type of devices will be really helpful to overcome those sort of situations.
Absolutely. I see it happening also like for like kiosks, or even just any sort of like team roaming based setup that you might have within your station. Not sure actually as to the price. Has anybody got any ideas as to what it actually costs for one of these, or is that still kind of hiding?
I think they announced it during a night, maybe around the 300-400 mark per unit. And did
Yeah.
you clarify that it was essentially you sign in and you connect straight to your Windows 365 cloud PCs?
Correct.
And apparently there's also support for Citrix Workspace app, but see what
Yeah.
happens with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
looking at the website right now, for it's still in preview.
Mhm.
365 link preview. Doesn't show any pricing or anything like that though. Yeah, so nothing showing the
Mm.
official site at the moment. Yeah.
I'd imagine, given the fact that it is kind of that thin client style, I wouldn't imagine there would be an amazing, I guess, expensive price tag. I'd see it probably aligning almost with like the price of what a NUC would cost, which is your small form,
Yeah.
lightweight, given that a majority of the operations, as
Yeah.
Andrew said, operate within the cloud space.
Yeah. I believe this is a enhanced version of the Dell YC boxes that used to have load Citrix VDI environments and things like that. So it's definitely an iteration, but a very enhanced with the enhanced capabilities for W365. Yeah.
Yeah, just looking at the book of news, the MSRP is 349, I assume US dollars.
Look, I believe that
So,
that
so yeah,
yeah, that in
up
itself somewhat
four five
aligns with
hundred dollars.
some,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that aligns with some fairly cheap, low end, notebooks, where almost I'd probably say this would align in terms of the technology, but of course have that enhanced security associated with it by design. But yeah, look, I think that's most of what I would consider, I guess, a high level recap of some of the Windows security enhancements that are coming in. I guess kind of, I don't know, not speed running, but going through a bit of other highlights, which Aaron Power did mention. I'd say would come back to that secure and govern of M365 Copilot. And such capabilities such as data security posture management for AI. That's essentially your that single pane of glass perspective into your environment's data usage, into oversharing, as well as the ability to then identify that and create DLP policies to obviously then prevent that content or those sensitivity labels, for example, to be seen within the 6.5 Copilot. So it's almost like, Microsoft's identified that placing these controls and seeing the landscape of the data, especially within AI's, I guess, up and coming, that they've identified that it wasn't the easiest. And so essentially they're giving a lot of perspective in the data usage or just usage of the AI just in general, which is really good to see.
Yeah, and it's been a year since M365 Copilot's been out, and they've introduced at least 3 or 4 different controls, just even through Copilot licensing itself. Like you said, the DLP policies, and everything that's part of SharePoint Advanced Management, or majority of it, is rolling into the Copilot licensing as well. So you've got granular control over what Copilot can access, and it's all part of Microsoft's responsibility to ensure that you can do that.
Absolutely. I guess still on the topic of AI, there was a lot of mention into the Azure AI overhaul. There was announcements in regards to a lot of other, I guess, languages, or like, I guess what I'd probably consider them as like tiers. There was the announcement of O1, O1 Mini, 4.0, 4.0 Mini, and a bunch of others. And I guess the whole recap of those is they're designed for specific functions of AI workloads, so such as instruction following, small content operations, all the way through to like long form problem, like math equation, advanced reasoning, and so on. That then allows you to almost, define the use case. It also comes with, if you don't need something extremely operational, you just need something to do one task a month kind of thing. You could then, it leans on the cheaper side of things for less intensive workloads. It then allows it to be more scalable. And it, as a business, it probably then allows you to adopt Azure AI itself probably a bit faster because it's not that of an intense paycheck. Got to walk in the testing and development side of things.
Yeah, especially with optimizations and cost reductions. So the new Azure AI Studio it brings in obviously Azure AI, there's Copilot Studio, and one other thing. But it's like you said, a single pane of glass to now manage those AI and data models with the same amount of purview and compliance controls as well.
Once again, probably still going on the AI path because given security and AI was still heavily on it. I think it was the expansion of obviously the business chat, but then more importantly, I think what I took away from it more was the capabilities related to Copilot pages and Copilot action. I guess to summarize it, Copilot pages was it starts off like a chat instance, and it kind of asks you some back and forth questions to formulate the idea have. And then what it would essentially do was it would expand into almost like a collaborative workspace, which can then be shared across, for example, your team, in like a platform such as like Microsoft Loop. That in itself, I think, is like a massive like head start into, everybody's hybrid working, everybody's trying to do lots of things, lots of different areas, and this kind of gives you that co-pilot experience to kind of get a real good head start on what that would look like potentially for your team or an upcoming project, or whatever your requirements are for a workspace, a collaborative workspace. So I was really happy to see that as well.
It effectively is a loop page that gets created when you edit the response that comes from Copilot. So I believe it's just the person that has the license can interact with Copilot, get it moved or appended to a loop page, and then you share it out to your team members who may not necessarily have a license for Copilot. They can work collaborative in the page, and then you can keep talking to Copilot and appending to that workspace or page.
Sounds like sounds like one person's gonna just be the co-pilot jockey in a business from here on. So no, you're absolutely right. This gives it's almost like, oh, we just put Copilot in Excel, so one guy's going to be the formula guy and everybody else is going to be the data entry. No, I hope that's not the case, but you're absolutely right.
Definitely. Exciting things are coming into Copilot scene. Which is very nice to see. Yeah.
I mean, at the same time, I think the reason why you would do that is because the Biz Chat or the M365 Copilot chat has access to the rest of the grounded data that if you were all in a loop workspace and using Copilot in loop, you might not necessarily get the same outputs. And I guess that's my take on it anyway.
I guess the other one was Copilot Actions. So that's like a no-code prompt-based like AI workflow. So I think once again you kind of enter in what you want this action to be. So I guess the workflow of what that would look like is broken down into 5 points where it requests and captures the information. You set like an reoccurrence of how often you want that to occur. You set what you want the output to be. You can set if there's going to be like an automated trigger, or you can also configure some like custom work that goes into that. So almost that like, those one-off tasks that need to happen monthly, the ability to kind of create a Copilot action to kind of go and do that task. So, if you need to send a monthly report that generates a bunch of information from what's happening in your environment. Obviously, given that it has the ability to access some data, you could potentially then schedule that to generate a list of information, provide an executive summary, run it on the first of every month, and shoot an email off to important@company.com. So
it also comes with some action templates. So you've got the commands already there, but you've got these drop downs where you can select what the parameter would be. So as you mentioned there, what the context is, what the action is, what the outcome is. You can pick those from some pre-canned templates.
absolutely. I think not to, I'll finish up on this session, but there was 2, I guess, notable sessions which Aaron did mention. One was in regards to that responsible AI, which was session BRK239, and also the GitHub Copilot for free. Say for free with quotations because I believe he quoted it as well. But I think that's just the ability to allow for all users to have Copilot, within things like Visual Studio to assist you with coding, debugging your code, and I believe it's a set amount of prompts that you get for free every month. So once again, kind of pushing the ability.
Yeah, the major consideration is that because it is a free tier, again, any data that or any code that you may use with this free version of GitHub Copilot may be used for training, which is why there are pro and enterprise tiers to ensure that doesn't happen and doesn't get leaked out into the general AI pool of knowledge.
But yeah, that was the Ignite, I guess, recap session, which was Aaron Powell once again from the perspective of someone that's on the ground within Microsoft, being able to give you that insight, at least cutting straight to the meat of it, because obviously Ignite is a pretty long session. This session I believe was only half an hour, and I feel like it just hit like every note that it was required. This is up to date, this is new, this is the benefit you're going to get. So 100%, I believe that the sessions are available to watch for the next, will be more like 2 months now, but by all means, summer boot camp, go and watch the session. I highly recommend.
Yeah, I think the good thing about those sessions are they're all free. But yeah, guilty here. I could check that, but ideally, as you said, they are available for another couple of days. And sessions are all free. It's all Microsoft Learn sort of initiative, which is good. Information out there for us to go and learn for free, which is really nice. So can be informative for future projects or future work or research that we are doing. Yeah.
Yeah, look, I guess that's all about what's happening in the past. Let's talk about what's happening in the future. And I think almost almost straight after that recap was the next session, which I want to bring up, which was the what they referred to as inside Microsoft and securing our enterprise. So as alluded to, the Microsoft Secure Future Initiative. So that is, I guess, comprised of 3 principles. Who knows what they are?
I've got it out in front of me. I can just read it out. That's
I mean,
Can I make yes?
shoot, you go, mate. You go.
Protect, like you on the pillars or the
like
main.
the top three initiatives, or
Yeah. What's their 3
yeah.
principles?
So secure by design, secure by default, and secure operations. Yeah. So
Yeah,
the pillars beneath that Shahan's referring to, they did add in a few of those May last year. So as part of the financial year kickoff, Microsoft's gone, let's go, double down on security.
Yes.
good. But yeah, look, secure by design, of course, was that security comes first when designing any product or service within the Microsoft suite. That secure by default is the security protection capabilities are enabled and enforced by default, requiring no additional effort. And then the secure operations, which is security controls and monitoring, will be continuously improved to meet current and so by default, it's essentially security is at the forefront. Security will be on by default, and then they will continue to improve security. So sounds like a pretty good 3 principles to me.
Yeah, I think mainly. So I'm just looking at the Secure Initiative webpage. So protect identities and secrets, which is basically number 1. Identity is the new firewall. Protect tenants and isolate systems. It can be protected data or systems where hosting protected data or sensitive data. In other words, protect networks. So it basically that's going with the whole Essential 8 Australian standards as well, and also protect engineering systems, monitor and detect cyber threats, which is basically happening from the scratch sort of thing. Accelerates response and remediation. So AIR, automated investigation and response, and also other responding activities as well. So they are all in this initiative, the pillars of future secure future initiative.
I think one of the main takeaways I took from it probably wasn't necessarily in regards to that secure by design, secure by default. It was probably more in the the operations, but not in the sense of any sort of technical control. But Microsoft advised that their employee base, or notably all full-time employees from this initiative moving forward, is to have a performance-based objective associated to security within their KPI goals. But so to begin with, it means that every single full-time employee is to be security conscious and make some, I guess, additional efforts within their personal development, etc., aligned to security. So as an organization, they can be, some of the leads in that area, but they still want to push every one of their employees. They also mentioned that they are providing general training and awareness to their staff regarding things like phishing attacks and secure password practices and data protection. Where across the board, some people probably would just assume that this could be common knowledge within an environment or within an organization. But I think that assumption itself probably poses as a massive risk, which Microsoft isn't taking anymore. And I see that as just probably being the direction that it's leading from the front, right? I think that other companies are going to acknowledge that Microsoft themselves, be it the global that they are, even themselves look inwards and say, we can improve, and I would like to think that other companies will take suit and align to.
Yeah, I think it always starts from the employees, the front line, in other words, because it's the famous thing. It's always take one employee or one user to click on a link, right? So that's the thing. So awareness is very important, and I don't think like frequent, not very frequently, but let it go for a couple of months, maybe quarterly, and then do another campaign to understand where they are sitting, how many clicks recorded in the system for those fake emails or looks like fake emails. And then maybe targeted training for those users who have done the clicking.
The accidentals.
Yeah, and then you go from there, right? So so maybe next time they won't do the same thing because they identify that as a like a fake email, or they think it's not right thing to do. So yeah, definitely your users, the front line, they are the top priority, and user awareness is very important. Frequent, user awareness is important.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, I guess, running through this a bit more, that they also made mention as to, I guess, their community-based incentives, or at least their collaborative incentives. They mentioned the bug bounty program, and that incentivizes, tinkerers that find flaws within the Microsoft products, and
Yes.
I'd inform them to Microsoft, they would be rewarded with it. The cash rewards, depending on how substantial your flaw that you find and locate, it can be quite beneficial to the bank account. Like you can
Yeah, can be
actually,
hefty one. Yeah.
you can make a couple of dollars. So obviously don't, but if you do, advise Microsoft. They'll obviously rate that sort of flaw within their product, and then actually reward you for it. So in itself, they're incentivizing the outward population monetary value to also assist them in that uplift security.
Yeah.
They did also mention there's a range of in teams within Microsoft. I'm going to focus more on the DART team, which is their detection and response team, and I guess the capability within that team and what it's designed to do. So I guess by default, the design for that team is to help customers that have been breached. So, someone clicked that link, right? Now, what that team then comes in and does is it identifies how that breach occurred. It assists the organization that clicked that link in the cleanup process. But then also, what they get in return is they get all of that intel, right? They get all of their learnings. They bring that back to their central, hubs, teams, and share that insights internally to help prevent future breaches in a much larger scale. So I guess they recapped or capped off that session, essentially aligning that, the data and threat intelligence which Microsoft already has synthesizes the amount of 78 trillion signals a day. And they also mentioned they have 10,000 security and incident threat intelligence experts, 1 million customers using the security products, 15,000 Microsoft partners. So it sounds like Microsoft is, uplifting themselves and giving a lot more emphasis of how they can help customers.
Yeah, that's definitely good knowledge. Yeah, so definitely security should be number one in any company, in any organization. And yeah, as Microsoft itself is doing its thing, it's a good example for the other organizations as well.
I'd say the third session that I did want to make, I won't get into insane detail in regards to it, but I probably found this most valuable because I probably would say I'm the least experienced in this space. It's somewhere where I want to get a lot more experience in, so obviously I probably clung onto it a bit more. Was related to the data security in structured and unstructured. So this heavily, I guess, pushed the point that Microsoft Purview is the best in class for what it does, which especially in the classification of data. I think they threw some figures around, such as over 200 sensitive information types, which are out of the box, ready to be used. 50 plus named entities. So that's your ability to uncover things like names, medical, drug names, etc. The EDM or exact data match capabilities. And then obviously you've got things like trainable classifications and whatnot to be able to classify data. All of that is essentially out of the box, ready for you. It's almost the they've done all of the groundwork so that you can essentially hit the ground running with data protection, especially within that secure, structured, and not so structured data. Probably in the not so structured data is where I probably leaned more towards, because there was a lot of emphasis towards the use of Microsoft Fabric, and how that capability surrounds how businesses can, access, manage, and act on data and insights. So obviously, as a recap, Fabric is, it has capabilities such as OneLake, which in my mind I picture OneLake as OneDrive for business. Uh, Obviously, that's not going to stick, but OneLake, as well
You're on
as,
the right track. Yeah.
look, I like to think,
Yeah, it's OneDrive for your data.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then obviously it's the Purview, and obviously Purview would eventually embed itself within it. But then obviously you got your Power BI, which is your data analysis tool, which once again gives you that insight.
Yeah, I think Fabric's kind of like a dash, well, a portal where you can aggregate all of your data sources. So they could be siloed, disparate little locations, on-prem, and so on. But you're bringing together all of the databases and the data sets that you would use for AI solutions or something like that. And at the same time, yes, the Purview data security features come in handy there.
But
And
yeah,
not to mention the inbuilt RBAC roles as well, which is very important when it comes to managing such a vast feature set, and then bringing down to the users.
Mm.
I think
And they're
that's
also adding in SQL databases, so secure, performant databases in the cloud. What a time to be alive!
yeah. I think you absolutely nailed it. I think it's that structured and unstructured where you can have data in locations where you expect it to be, your SharePoint and all that, but also then the ability to almost like rope in SQL or your third party products such as, Dropbox, for example, right? So your ability to kind of compile all your data into one centralized location.
Yeah, don't use Dropbox as a repo.
No, don't. Look, right? It's the first one that popped into the head, third party. No. If you need to, go for it. If you need to, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like using Excel. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no. All right. But look. I think, yeah. Once again, one of my main takeaways was regarding obviously the compliance and regulatory side of things. So, there's the information protection labels, which obviously will be a part of Purview. I believe it's rolling out as we speak. And then obviously rolls back into that. What are the capabilities for that data loss prevention, and all capability. One of the main things I thought was amazing is that you can almost configure and silo your data into specific regions all in the same portal. So you got a global company with regulations on where your data can be stored. It gives you the ability to choose the geo regions in which that data resides. So by default, I think their ability to collapse and not have several copies of data as well was something that I took away, because I know that if in some businesses, data here and data there, and it gets a bit much. And so some of the capabilities within Fabric, as well as the compliance and regulatory side of things, they've really thought about. I think that comes back to this by design, is I think it's where they obviously built this product and then embedded security straight from the start, and they're hitting all the.
Yeah, I think that last point you mentioned there around multiple copies. So yeah, running through deduplication, getting rid of any old irrelevant data, so that you've got up to date, accurate information. So if you are using AI, for example, you're not serving the wrong content to your users, right? So it's it's also part of compliance, ensuring that your records up to date and so on. So it's not just all security. There is some other, I don't know, I don't know what we call it security. It's more of a cleanliness kind of thing, hygiene. Yeah.
But look, that is the 3 sessions that I wanted to cover off. I mean, look, I feel like I've done fair chunk of talking. What have
Yeah.
you? What I was going to say? What have you guys been doing this week?
Well, I published a new blog. I'm just trying to open it right now. It's something that's always bugged me whenever I go. I see, and it's sort of like a known thing as well, passwords. Of course, we are moving towards passwordless, but we still have passwords today. Organizations are still using the passwords to jump onto the computer, and then they have their password expiry policies, or maybe password, or maybe long passwords, long password times, or maybe long lived passwords, in other words. But also, most of the organizations are using password hash sync today, as opposed to other options. The thing is, the problem that I see is, you get your password expired. Your password is expiring on your Windows device. You reset your password, or maybe you don't reset your password. In the meantime, you can still use the same password in the cloud in Entra. It won't give you the option to. It won't tell you, yeah, your password has been expired. Update your password here. You can still use that. So think of this scenario: frontliners. Most of the organizations, they don't provide a machine to the frontliners. They have their mobile phone or the iPad or whatever, the mobile device. So they are predominantly using Teams for some like frontline applications, maybe connected back to Entra, and they won't get the password expiry notice. So let's say if they want to, if if the policy is to expire the password every 180 days or every 1 year, and they don't get this option to reset the password or change the password if they want to. So I was just thinking about this one, and luckily there's the Microsoft documentation itself, to change the configuration, so it will be prompted. So couple of things: password expiry, and also how we set up temporary passwords. Let's say for a newcomer, with the tick in AD, user must change the password in the next login. So that can be set up in the Entra. Like when you set that up, then Entra will give you the option to change the password, reset the password then and there. Very easy setup as well, and it's configured for the whole organization at once. So I was just looking at this problem, and okay, I thought maybe I'll write about that. So a few things, few prerequisites. Because the password needs to be written back to the AD, password write back needs to be enabled. That's number one, and also SSPR should be enabled as well. So there can be some organizations, we don't use SSPR, something like that. So that needs to be enabled as a prereq. And also, you need to use graph PowerShell to run these commands as well. So I think, yeah, we can probably put this in the description as well, for anyone who's interested. I talked with some guys in other organizations. They say, oh yeah, we need to implement this. This is happening far too long, and this needs to be changed. So basically, we are changing two parameters in the. I'm just looking at the thing which I just wrote. There's this in Microsoft Graph directory on-premises synchronization. So that's where you have all the options. So some options that you have: group write back enable, password sync enable. So all the options that we can see that we enable in the connect sync tool. So that will be reflected in this PowerShell command. So two things: cloud password policy for password sync enabled users. So that should be true. So that's where the password expiry would work. And also use force password change on logon enabled. That should be true as well. So that's where the tick that we put for the temporary. So behind the scenes, what's happening is, it's basically looking at those settings, and then it will be acted on this user account. So that's what's happening. And I checked the results as well, which is good and it's working. So that's what I've been up to the last week actually. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. So I guess to summarize it as best that I could, essentially it acts just like a normal password check, but upon the trigger of, you need to reset your password, it's essentially opening up that SSPR function.
That's correct.
So I guess, jump into it. If you're running through this, SSPR obviously needs a set of MFA methods enabled for that. I'm assuming we'd still be pushing that to MFA methods to be able to use SSPR. In your use case, did you see, I guess, that side of things as challenging, or should it just be as designed?
You mean the MFA? Well, it's just a matter of registering into the SSPR, right? So it's just a matter of again get the users to use SSPR. So with the combined registration method, you can get the users to register for MFA and SSPR at the same time. So that can be done as well. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, I wasn't too sure if you needed to essentially have SSPR completely ready to go, or if this is something that can almost be done, as you said, set these two settings up, and then obviously when they get to that point in which, all right, we need to actually configure, I need to reset my password, it flows into that standard, let's go and set up MFA, and then once you've scanned your mobile or applied your security key or so, it then says, chuck your mobile in as well while you're at it. And then you reset your password, you're good.
Yeah, that's right.
Super seamless these days. I'm setting that up.
Yes, but idea should be going towards the passwordless option. And also, correct me guys if I'm wrong. NIST's recommendation is to have 365-day long passwords, if I'm correct. So that means pretty much, you set the password and you forget about it. So it's rather than just changing the passwords every now and then, have a long password and then just,
Yeah. From memory, your NIST CSF, your essential eights all align with essentially a extremely long password, or
passphrase.
Yeah, that's it. Or yeah, sorry, not these days.
Yeah. They're also suggesting, not to expire those passwords either anymore. So it's you don't have to introduce the risk of whatever. Here's a short password, and then you get
1, 2, 3 at the end.
Yeah.
Exactly that. I did throw in the security key as a password method. But obviously,
passwordless. Yeah,
there comes a bit of a cost behind that one. So
more phishing resistant password, more phishing resistant methods, rather than going through, having to enter the password every time you log in. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Because Andrew, you had a in-person user group. Is that right?
No, not this week. That was when we had our other session that week. So this week, this week was fun. I got to brush up on some skills, had to relearn a few things. I did deliver some enablement around Intune, and turns out there's been a fair amount of stuff that's come to Intune. So just looking at the what's new Microsoft Learn page, it's already a few things in the last few months that I was like, I didn't realize that was happening or that was being retired and so on. So it always pays to check those tech community blogs to see what's actually happening. And I guess I tend to do that every month when we prepare for the user groups. What else? Today it was just some news around how the Copilot Studio pay-as-you-go stuff is actually charging you for your triggers and actions as well. It's not just your responses and your generative responses. So any triggers and actions that your autonomous agents do, they cost 25 messages each. So it ends up being a much higher cost per day in terms of what you would have thought. So just be wary of that. Besides, I mean, this week has mostly just been quietly learning things, but I do want to point this one out. I did see it yesterday or the day before. So back in October, we know that Microsoft rolled out the mandatory MFA for accessing the Entra, Intune, and Azure portals. and they said, "Oh, come January, we'll do also the Azure CLI and the remaining Azure services." So the portals, I think by now they're all requiring MFA to be set up. And yeah, come next month, the M365 admin portal as well will require mandatory MFA. So if you haven't set that up, make sure your global admins and other role-based admins have MFA enabled or at least registered, so that if they do need to administer anything, they're compliant. And in terms of other things, I don't know when I signed up for it, but I'm on a mailing list from the Microsoft security community. So I'm trying to figure out how I got there,
That
but
would have been CCP.
possibly, yeah, more likely. I did note at the bottom there's a link to their LinkedIn page, so you could subscribe to their LinkedIn newsletter as well. So that's just aks.ms/msc_newsletter_LinkedIn. But the actual email that came through, there was a bunch of events or webinars that are coming or happening, possibly one overnight, but for the next 3-4 weeks, written there. So you can find that on aka.ms/msc_webinars_page. And for our listeners, I'll just quickly go through some of the topics. So there's Defender for Office 365, Azure Network Security, Entra ID protection, Intune for frontline workers, securing your resources and roles with Entra verified ID. There's Defender XDR, and Security Copilot and Entra, as well as Microsoft Sentinel. So if you're interested in any of those things, make sure you hit up the link. We'll provide that in the show notes afterwards. But that's the next month or so worth of security webinars from Microsoft security community.
I think going back just on the MFA rollout, I think if you've got a fairly tech savvy environment with administrative privileges, can I believe by default there is a template conditional policy course MFA for I think 20 odd administrative roles. I'd highly recommend without being
Yeah.
as
You know what
blunt.
you know what the scary thought is before you go on? There's still some tenants without licensing that provides conditional access. So
Good point. Yeah, yeah. Good point. Good point. Look. However you get to put MFA on, please do.
yes.
If you are a tenancy that does get conditional access, 100% push forward with the conditional access policy, even if it's just to enable it for administrators. It will save you a lot of headaches and probably no, immediate change requests in the near
Yeah.
future. Obviously, it would be your pilot. Call it the phased approach where all your admins, obviously, they've got the most impact if occur. Once probably, but
Also, yeah, not to mention the break glass accounts and the service accounts that you still got your passwords as well.
Yeah.
So definitely, if you have your service accounts, look at the workload identities, which is basically passwordless, or you don't need to do any changes over there. So you move into a secret sort of a scenario and use those within those applications. And also break glass accounts. Ideally, earlier, what the understanding was remove or exclude your break glass accounts from the conditional access policies. But ideally, at this stage, you need to add them if you are logging to the admin portals. Of course, that's why you need your break glass accounts. So, but use phishing resistant. So keep a 502 key or something like that, mainly for that. Ideally, store it in a secure place. And then you have your key whenever you want. So they needs to go through your MFA as well. There needs to be an MFA enabled and keep them in a different place. So that you are using your authentication strengths to manage those accounts as well. So yeah, that's important too.
I think one of the reasons why the concept of break glass account was introduced was in the off chance that the MFA service goes offline, or Azure or Entra ID goes, someone makes DNS change and suddenly half the world can't log in. How do we still get into our tenant to disable or bypass MFA so that users can actually get on with their day until it's resolved in the back end? So how would that work in that
I'm
instance?
thinking CAE or continuous access evaluation, because these days I'm trying to write my next one pager document, or like an infograph
Mhm.
thing. So I'm just thinking. So there are some things for identity resiliency when it comes to Entra ID. So in a very high level, external IDs would be one thing. So look at, you know try to try not to depend solely on Entra. So that's the message over there. So if you can see Google, Facebook, all the other authentications, so it will be authenticated via that. So that's for the external identities. And CAE, use CAE, so that means long-lived tokens, rather than getting expired every now and then.
Mm.
um, Look at other methods for look at MFA for other methods. So let's say they're talking about the other stuff as well. So let's say if you, for an example, I don't think anyone would use only this option. Let's say you have text option for MFA. So you are depending on your service provider as well. So, but enable another option. Let's say if you have TOTP or authenticator for that matter, so you use your code. And also, let's say if the number matching is not working, if the prompt is not coming, I've personally tested this. So number matching is not coming because there's no connectivity for the phone, right? But if you're using the actual 6 digits that's popping up on the end, on the authenticator itself, it will still work. So you have some sort of a resiliency over there as well. So likewise, get the device hybrid joined, so they are depending on the conditional access policies in order to access the applications. um Definitely there are some methods that they have mentioned. Again, if in other words, if that's the case, they are depending on the conditional access policy. So what if the conditional access policy or MFA is not working? So yeah, look out for that one as well. So definitely, I'll be explaining the why and how on that. So most probably, the answer will be there for your question, Andrew.
Cool.
I think
Um,
I was
yeah, and just a suggestion, I think, for next week, maybe we can put into the calendar so our listeners, our viewers can look forward to that. Um, Idea, right? So we can brainstorm, open forum. So I'm just thinking, what if we are everyone is talking about moving to the cloud. How can we fully move our Windows fleet into fully managed by Entra, fully managed by Intune, Defender, and everything, but we still have that on-premises footprint. Your group policies, config manager, your on-premises applications still, they are the dependencies at the moment. So we can maybe discuss or deep dive into how to move, how to discover what sort of things that needs to be done, and then how to gradually move into cloud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably a good segue into the whole Windows 10 end of life coming this year and what
Right.
the options are to get Windows 11 and readiness assessments and so on. So it's probably good opportunity to wrap that into it as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think moving forward, with this podcast, I think what we might even want to do is obviously just identify what's new. Obviously, Microsoft's always making some, probably just rain check and see how the rest of the guys in the podcast are doing. But I think, yeah, moving forward, we'd also like to try and almost just give a little bit of a deep dive into how you can also, you might be in a company that's starting their journey early. Obviously, we're a forum of experts in the area where we've either had to have that battle ourselves in the past. We're currently in that battle now. A great forum of just lessons learned, right? Shehan's just mentioned the old password reset debacle. You're going through that. In future, I think we could even go through. Might have to get a bit techier with the old streaming service, but I think even the ability that we could probably start to share on a more displaying forum. Obviously, if for those that aren't aware, the videos will be available on YouTube and Spotify as streaming services. So we are a video and audio-based podcast, where we will also start to show some of the content in environments to, I guess, give you a bit of an understanding. I think then moving forward, it might also be a pretty good opportunity to open up the doors on our Discord channel, where you can ask any questions. And we're also toying with the idea of potentially having some, I guess, more or less structured live Q&A sessions where we can fire up on, or by all means come and we'll probably be chatting the same way we do now, but obviously with more free flow questions. Yeah, I'm excited to see what's up and coming for episode 2 and onwards. But yeah,
Also it'd be a great opportunity for any people out in the public to become guest speakers on our show. You can talk about any of your projects or pain points and so on. But everybody's welcome. Just hit us up on our socials, and we'll find a slot for you.
brilliant.
Cool.
Okay.
Look, I think with that, I think we're on the cusp of wrapping up. But once again, appreciate your click, your watch, your listen. By all means, please dump comments in the chat, in LinkedIn, wherever you're seeing this. We appreciate your support.
Not to mention subscribe to the channel as well in everywhere.
Like, subscribe, follow. Yep.
Yeah, all of the
hit the bell.
Yeah, all of those things. Look, we'll get better. But yeah, please like, subscribe, show your parents. I don't know. But no, I appreciate your time. Yeah,
I'll do the next one.
Till the next one.
Yeah, no worries.
All right.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you, guys.